When Tomorrow Comes by Tony Gagliardi. Chapter 2. Buccaneer Treasure Hunt. The sun hung low over Crescent Cove, bathing the shoreline in golden light as excitement crackled through the air. The children gathered once more at the heart of the resort, maps in hand, hearts thumping like distant drums. The salty breeze teased their hair as they clustered in a wide semicircle around Matteo the elder. Now wearing a broad pirate hat with a faded crimson feather curling at the brim, he looked every bit a relic from another age. Matteo raised a brass ship's bell and gave it a theatrical shake, its echo ringing across the cove like a call to arms. "Ahoy, brave sailors," he bellowed, eyes twinkling beneath the brim of his hat. "The Buccaneer treasure hunt begins. Trust your maps, trust your wits, trust your hearts, and above all, trust the stars." The children clutched their scrolls tighter. The air buzzed with anticipation, quiet and charged, like a secret waiting to be told. Matteo's grin widened. "Each treasure you find holds a story, and perhaps a name." He gestured down the beach, where hand-painted wooden signs pointed in different directions. Captain's Crossroad, Mermaid's Hollow, Starwatch Point, Whispering Palms, Moonstone Creek. Each child's map directed them to a different destination. With a final ringing of the bell, Matteo cried, "Go forth, young buccaneers, treasure and adventure await." The kids scattered, laughter ringing out as they sprinted into the golden light, each on a path of their own. Luca followed his map to Captain's Crossroad, where several resort paths met beneath old ship wheels hanging from wooden posts. Coils of nautical rope and old anchors decorated the intersection, giving it the feel of an abandoned pirate port. At the center stood a tall signpost with multiple directional arrows. Pinned to the signpost was a piece of parchment that looked just like the one his treasure map was drawn on. Luca looked closer at the parchment and read aloud to himself what was written on it. Captain's Crossroad. Where paths converge and choices meet, a spark awaits the bold and fleet. What strikes fastest in the storm? Seek the captain's wooden form. Luca studied the riddle, then noticed one of the signs pointing to Captain's Lookout. He followed that sandy path down to the shore, where he found a wooden pirate statue, a weathered figure with a black tricorn hat and a faded red coat carved in flowing lines. One worn hand rested on the brass hilt of his cutlass at his side, while his other arm pointed out over the water. The pirate's face bore a mischievous grin, like he was still protecting the cove from unseen threats. Luca searched around the statue's base and found a small treasure chest half buried in the sand. Inside, wrapped in rough wool, lay a golden pendant shaped like a thunderbolt attached to a sturdy leather cord. Luca lifted it carefully and slipped it over his head. As the pendant settled against his chest, he felt a surge of energy, like lightning crackling through his veins, wild and powerful. He looked up at the pirate captain's weathered face, then turned to gaze out over the cove alongside him. For a moment, he could almost feel the echoes of old sea battles and distant storms, as if the statue held memories of pirates from long ago. Maya followed her map up a winding dune path to Starwatch Point, where an old wooden sign marked the scenic overlook. Beside the sign sat an old brass telescope on a wooden stand, positioned to take in the sweeping view of the island and sea beyond. Dangling from the telescope was a small blue velvet pouch tied with string. Maya carefully untied it and opened the soft fabric to find a piece of parchment inside. She unfolded it and read to herself, "Starwatch Point. When darkness falls and day is done, what guides the lost when there's no sun? A beacon of light to show the way, hidden where the star watchers stay." Maya contemplated the riddle, then scanned her map. She noticed a marking that showed an old lighthouse further along the point, a beacon that had guided ships through dark waters for generations. She followed the path as it climbed higher until the weathered stone lighthouse emerged from a patch of coastal mist, its thick walls rising toward the sky like an ancient guardian. The heavy wooden door creaked open at her touch, as if welcoming her in. Inside, a spiral staircase wound upward into shadows. Maya climbed carefully, her footsteps echoing in the narrow space, until she emerged into the beacon room at the top. Sunlight streamed through small, thick windows, and she could see the entire island spread out below. The resort, the beach, the endless blue sea stretching to the horizon. In the center of the room, near the old lighthouse beacon, sat a small treasure chest. Inside, nestled in deep blue velvet, lay a star pendant carved from pure crystal quartz and etched with delicate swirling lines. A fine silver chain was attached. Maya lifted it carefully and slipped it over her head. As the star pendant settled against her chest, she felt a sudden clarity, like seeing a clear path through fog and a quiet confidence spreading through her. Noah followed his map along a sandy path until he reached a faded wooden sign that read Whispering Palms. Beyond it lay a quiet grove of tall palm trees that swayed gently in the breeze, as if whispering to each other like they knew something he didn't. Pinned to the sign was a piece of aged parchment written in flowing script. Noah read the words aloud. Whispering Palms. When the light fades at end of day, the old compass points the way. North and south and east and west, one direction holds your chest. Noah studied his map and saw a ship symbol marked Ocean Navigator. Following the map's direction, he spotted a wooden replica ship, a scaled-down pirate vessel complete with masts, rope rigging, and a raised captain's deck at the stern. Noah grinned as he climbed the rope ladder onto the main deck, then walked toward the back of the ship to the captain's deck. He was immediately drawn to the old ship's wheel and grabbed it with both hands, spinning it left and right like he was navigating through stormy seas. As he played captain, something caught his eye to the right, a brass compass built into the deck, its surface worn smooth by countless sailors' hands. His mind quickly shifted back to the treasure hunt. The old compass points the way. He remembered from the riddle. The compass needle pointed steadily toward the front of the ship. Noah looked in that direction and spotted what appeared to be a small cabin near the bow. He made his way there and pushed open the door. Inside, he discovered a wooden chest tucked beneath a chart table covered with faded maps. He lifted it out carefully and opened it to find a tarnished bronze coin engraved with a ship's crest and a spiral pattern. As he brushed off the dust, the intricate design seemed to gleam in the fading light. The moment he held it, Noah felt a thrill of discovery, like he'd stepped into an old pirate's tale. Isla followed her map to Mermaid's Hollow. A small wooden sign marking the spot stood nearby, and beside it she spotted a large conch shell nestled in the sand. Looking at the shell, she noticed a rolled-up piece of parchment sticking out of its opening, tied with a turquoise ribbon. Isla gently pulled it out from the shell, untied the ribbon and unrolled it. Mermaid's Hollow, where mermaids sing their gentle song, and ocean waves have played so long. Beneath the Lady of the Sea, your treasure waits for you to see. Isla looked around the sandy hollow and spotted a beautiful wooden mermaid statue. Her carved tail was painted in faded turquoise and sea green, weathered by years of salt air. The mermaid's face was gentle and kind, with shell-carved eyes that seemed to sparkle like the sea itself. She felt drawn to the statue, as if the mermaid was an old friend waiting to share a secret. The mermaid lay on her side in the sand, her graceful arms outstretched in a welcoming embrace. Something about the space between those protective arms called to Isla. She knelt beside the statue and carefully brushed away the sand. Nestled between the mermaid's arms was a small treasure chest. Inside, wrapped in sea silk, was a turquoise charm shaped like a curling wave. It shimmered as if wet, as though it held 1,000 ocean tales within its curves. Isla noticed a delicate silver chain attached to the charm. She lifted it carefully and slipped it over her head. The moment it settled against her chest, she felt a soothing warmth like gentle waves washing over her heart, like the mermaid was welcoming her as a sister of the sea. Danny moved quietly, away from the others, following her map along a winding path. The path was lined with smooth, pale stones that caught the golden light. As she rounded a bend, her map led her to a wooden sign marking Moonstone Creek. Tied to the sign with a thin silver ribbon was a small rolled piece of parchment. Danny untied it carefully, unrolled the parchment, and read what was written on it. Moonstone Creek. When daylight fades and shadows grow, where moonlit waters softly flow, beneath the tree of ancient dreams, Your treasure waits by silver streams." Danny looked around, studying the creek and its banks. She spotted an ancient banyan tree whose thick roots spread above the ground like twisted arms before reaching down into the water at the creek's edge. She approached the massive tree and knelt among its twisted roots, searching carefully until she found a small treasure chest nestled in their protective embrace. Inside was a delicate silver ring etched with a crescent moon and flowing lines below it. She slipped it onto her finger, and a gentle chill crept up her wrist, like the ancient tree was sharing its hidden pathways with her, secrets only shadows could see. By the time the sun kissed the horizon, each child had returned, dusty, windswept, wide-eyed, and victorious. Their treasures gleamed in their hands like pieces of a forgotten puzzle. Together, they made their way down to the beach, eyes shining, treasures clutched tight, the golden light of sunset shimmering on their wind-kissed cheeks. "Mine's a thunderbolt," Luca said, holding it up like a medal. "I got a star," Maya added quietly, eyes flicking to the others, like she wasn't sure if it meant something more. "Coin with a ship and a spiral," Noah grinned. "And it glows." "Pretty sure that means I'm rich." Isla giggled and held out her turquoise wave. "Mine's still wet." "Is that normal?" Noah blinked. "Is the sand wet?" "Nope." Isla grinned wider. Danny didn't speak. She just turned her hand, letting them glimpse the crescent ring glinting in the fading light. Something unreadable flickered behind her eyes. For a moment, none of them said anything. Then Luca grinned. "We all found something." Maya nodded. "Yeah, like pieces of the same story." At the center of Crescent Beach, Matteo waited. Half buried in the sand beside him stood a grand treasure chest, its brass fittings glinting in the firelight of newly lit torches. Matteo gave a theatrical groan as he heaved open the lid. Inside, a riot of pirate scarves and sashes, wooden swords, tricorn hats, and candy spilled like a ransom. The kids shrieked with joy, diving in. Hats flew through the air, sashes wrapped around waists, wooden swords clashed with dramatic flair. Matteo stood back for a moment, letting the chaos unfold. Laughter, sword fights, flying hats, the kind of joy only a golden evening could carry after the adventure of a Buccaneer treasure hunt. To most, they looked like children playing dress-up, Matteo thought. His eyes traced the gleam of each treasure, now half forgotten in the thrill of candy and costume. But some treasures choose the ones who find them. Then he stepped forward again, the pirate once more. One by one, he knelt beside each child, studying their treasures with quiet reverence, eyes narrowing thoughtfully, as if each piece stirred something long buried. "Tonight," he announced, loud enough for the flames and sea to hear, "you shall learn the pirate name destiny has given you." The children fell quiet, their treasures clutched close, eyes wide with wonder. Ahead of them, torches flickered in the dusk, forming a golden path down the beach toward the grand bonfire. The scent of cooked fish curled through the salty air. A conch-horn blew, low, ancient, calling them forward. The day had been filled with discovery, laughter, and sunlit dreams. But the night? The night would awaken something older, something written in the stars.